So we are off the week of this reignited fear of software in the AI disruption, SaaSpocalypse, whatever you want to call it. When you look at some of the carnage, specifically in public markets, how much of it is just an issue of sentiment, a narrative that's gotten wrong, something wrong, or an actual fundamental issue with software?
Yeah, well, thank you. It's a great time to talk because we see so much opportunity in this new world of AI. We don't necessarily view SaaS and AI as different things. All of our software companies are using AI, they're selling AI, they're developing AI. And so we think the public markets, particularly for companies that have a certain set of attributes, and I can describe those attributes, but are not being very discerning. In other words, to think that all software is the same, we think is, they're missing the mark a bit. And so we love the way values are trending, especially in our space. And when we compare that to the performance of our companies, which is very strong, we think this could be a really exceptional buying opportunity.
So what are you looking for when you're looking at some of the carnage out there of what might be attractive to snap up?
Well, I think, look, one of the number one tenet of Thoma Bravo's investment thesis has always been quality of revenue, which means high renewal rates, lots of customers, things like that. Those types of companies tend to index very, very well in this new world of AI. And so when I think about the world of AI, we have kind of an internal AI opportunity framework is what I would call it. And that has a lot to do with the depth of domain knowledge that a company has, that a software system has, the complexity of integrations with other software systems, the complexity of calculations that are required. Is it a transactional system of record that's helping an operator make a real-time decision with very low tolerance for error? Those kind of things index really high. And if you think of some of our companies, Dayforce with payroll, I mean, you can't make a payroll mistake. It's very complicated. It's highly regulated, different jurisdictions. If you're using Anaplan and you're a supply chain manager at LVMH and you have a manufacturing problem, you need to get this inventory into a new store tomorrow. Again, high cost of error. And so the list goes on. But or if you're Jeppesen with ForeFlight, aviation software, you know, you don't want United Airlines sending a pilot who's timed out to go fly a plane. Highly regulated, lots of calculations. And so these are the types of companies that we own. They're also the types of companies that are performing extremely well. And they're developing AI, and they're actually accelerating, not decelerating. So we think this narrative, and again, most software companies are actually private, not public. And so when we think of our portfolio, we think of this narrative, we think it's overwrought.
And I know you closed Dayforce last week, by the way, speaking of which, congratulations on that. I know we also first talked when you announced the deal, but that notably was a take private. I'm wondering where you're finding the value now. Is it in the public companies that have sold off, or in private markets? Are you seeing a lot of funds trying to unwind some of their software exposure that you'd be interested in picking up?
We're seeing both. And I mean, the public is obviously the first place to look. It reacts the quickest. It usually takes private valuations a bit longer to adjust, but there are people that are very risk off and they're trying to diversify out of software. And so those are opportunities, but also the public stocks, again, for the right types. One of the real benefits of being a sector specialist is we feel like we have a really good sense of what's working in this new world of AI, and we see it in our portfolio. And so we feel like we can discern what we should be buying and what we shouldn't be buying. So there's a lot of opportunity in the public markets as well.
There must be some threat somewhere, and I know you've written a bit about this. You wrote in the FT this idea that it's not going to be these AI startups that necessarily come and disrupt things, but it's going to come from the big foundational models, the OpenAI, the Anthropic. What are they able to disrupt?
Yeah, it's a great question. Look, these model companies are incredible at data science. They are not as great at understanding specific business processes in a large enterprise. And so we think, again, this combination of domain knowledge and AI, ultimately the winners. I described a set of characteristics earlier that we think really lends itself well in this new world of AI. So if you're going to say, what could they disrupt? Probably the opposite of those characteristics, which is, you know, maybe I'm sorting leads. It's a tool to sort leads for an inside sales rep, or it's a front-end marketing automation tool, or it's choosing words out of a document management. So there's several categories where they are probably less resilient, but on average, for the types of companies that we own, we see a lot more opportunity than risk.